A very good morning to all of you and welcome to the session, the Hindu Editorial Analysis for Proficiency in English. Let us start with the first snippet. There's an important word here, but first I'll read the snippet. Embezzlement case. Mumbai Bank ex-general manager sent to police custody. The first one, embezzlement, an important word. Do you remember the word embezzle? Very good. I do. You have to recollect two words, embezzle and also swindle. And one important idiom, feather one's own nest. That has been given many a time. Feather one's own nest. You should also recollect the word swindle. Swindling of money, swindle money. Yes, Pavani. Feather one's own nest. One apostrophe S. And also embezzle. There's one more expression you have to recollect. That is misappropriation. What is it? Misappropriation of funds. Misappropriation also means the same. So what does it mean? Imagine someone works for a company or an organization, takes the money of the company, of the organization, not in a legal manner, illegally, without anyone's knowledge. Then we have to use the words like swindle, embezzle, misappropriation of funds, and feather one's own nest. All the four you have to recollect as a smart learner. Then we have a word here, custody. Imagine someone has been arrested, apprehended. Arrest, one more word you have to think of, apprehended. Apprehend has many meanings, but one of the meanings, arrest. They are taken to the police station. The person wants to leave the police station, but they don't allow the person to leave the police station. Then what is the word we have to think of? We have to think of the word detain. Detain, and what is a noun form? Detention. Detain is a verb, detention is a noun form. That you have to recollect. See, so much from one new snippet. Let us go to the second one. Challenges and possibilities. Will US F-35 jets be a good fit for the IAF, I'm sorry. What is it? Will first, challenges and possibilities. When you see the word challenges, I usually give students one quote. Our students should recollect. What is that? Never limit your challenges. Always challenge your limits. Have you got it? Never limit your challenges. Always challenge your limits. That should be the philosophy. That you have to recollect. And possibility. In English, we have helping verbs to express a possibility. First one, may, chances are more. Then might, could, should, chances are less. That you have to recollect. Will US F-35 jets be a good fit for the Indian Air Force? The IAF, Indian Air Force. Be a good fit means do they match? Do they serve the purpose? That's what it means. And it talks about the US F-35 jets. Will they be a good fit? Question. Perhaps, may or may not. Again, when you see the word will, you have to recollect. Will and shall. This rule goes with all the future tenses. Future, future continuous, future perfect continuous. What is that rule? We use will and shall with first person singular and plural. I and we. We use only will with other pronouns. You, he, she, it and they. We cannot use shall. If at all we talk about future actions. That you have to recollect. Next one. I have a sore throat. Please bear with that. I have to clear quite often. Here we have a pick. Startup sectors. Shashi Tharoor gets LDF praise, UDF flack. What is the meaning of the word flack? Flack means a criticism. Flack. Something is positive, something is negative here. Shashi Tharoor, how many of you know about him? You all know he is an MP, a member of parliament, and ex-Stephanian student, alumni of St. Stephen's College. He is known for his English. He is very good at English. He was born in the UK, brought up, his childhood spent over there, and he is known for his English. Here, Shashi Tharoor gets LDF praise and UDF flack. Next one. This is usually something important, red background and letters in white. Stalling momentum. What is the meaning of stall? Stall has two different meanings. As a verb, when you visit an exhibition, you see a stall. That is one meaning, I'm sure you all know. What is the other one? Stop. As a verb, what does it mean? Stall something. Stall the progress means a stop. Stall the momentum means a stop. Here, stalling momentum, distress. We have got this word many a time. Distress means a state of unhappiness, a state of anxiety, a state of being in a sad situation. Migrant workers, exactly, typical combination. Distress in the Panchayati Raj. Shifts in technology, society could make panchayats irrelevant. Two things. Shifts in technology, society could make panchayats irrelevant. Possibility, talks about possibility. Could. Could has four functions. One of the four functions, it is used to express the possibility, but the chances are less. What is the most important function of could? It is used to make a request, formal and very polite. When you face an interview, you don't understand what a particular member has said, then you have to request him to repeat. How do you request? Could you please repeat, sir? That is important. That expression you have to learn and use. I think, what is the date? IPL 2025 schedule, champion KKR to host RCB in opener. From today or tomorrow? IPL, people wait eagerly. IPL, it is about that. Champion KKR. Here, reigning champion. Sometimes you come across the word reigning. Yes, that is right, Srikanth. Very good. Could you please repeat, sir? Reigning champion means current champion. That also you have to recollect. Champion KKR to host RCB. That means the match is going to be in Calcutta, I suppose, in opener, first match. That's all about the snippets from the front page of the Hindu. Here you can see the main headline. It is again about stampede, but where, when? Confusion over trains caused a stampede. We have got the word stampede recently, Kumbh Mela. There was a stampede because of the surge of a group of people. Surge means what? Sudden forward movement in that context. Surge also means a sudden increase. And here it talks about confusion over trains caused a stampede. Death toll rises to 18. Announcement of special train led to a surge from one platform to another. Even here we have the word surge, from one platform to another. They must have made an announcement regarding a special train. Based on that, people wanted to go from one platform to another platform. That resulted in stampede. Nearly 2,600 additional tickets for unreserved seats were sold on Saturday. Additional tickets. Here, 2,600 additional tickets were sold on Saturday. Unreserved seats, for unreserved seats. Passenger rush exceeded capacity of platforms. The press was most intense at steps leading to the foot overbridge, with passengers falling over each other and being crushed. Very unfortunate. Imagine 2,600 additional tickets for unreserved seats, means general. Additional 2,600, that must have resulted in this stampede. And also announcement regarding special trains. You can see a pic, people are crying, sobbing and grieving. A tragic end. Relatives of a victim of the stampede mourn her death. Mourning. You all know the word mourn. in New Delhi on Sunday. Again, what can we say? Very unfortunate. Here you see a pic, a completely different pic. In doldrums means in problem, in trouble. The beach life, you can see the kids playing over here, youngsters, not kids, youth. And behind you see a cruise ship. A cruise ship passes the Port Kochi beach on Sunday. The Cochin Port Authority has targeted a total of 50 cruise ships visiting the port city in the fiscal ending March 31st. Cruise ships, pleasure ships, they take passengers, travel across the world, sail across the world. Cruise ships, they're usually massive. You have everything over there. And you all know the Titanic, that is also a cruise ship. And it shows the youngsters playing over there, the beach life. Another headline, third US aircraft touches down in Amritsar carrying more than 100 deporters. Again, we see a pic over here, deporters, sail, voyage, embark, expedition, all these words you have to. And an important rule when you see the word aircraft. Aircraft, spacecraft, singular or plural, same form. Cargo, luggage means some ship that carries luggage, we use the word cargo ship. There's a cruise ship. What is the other word for that? Cruise ships take passengers to sail across the world, those who want to sail across the world. And some ships carry luggage or goods. We don't say luggage, here we say goods from one country to another country. Then we use the word cargo, cargo ship. Third US aircraft touches down in Amritsar carrying more than 100 deportees. Deportees, that word form you have to remember. They may give in the exam. Deport is a verb, deportee is noun. We have another headline over here. Suspected KNA cadres among 11 militants held in Manipur. Police clear roadblock, seize arms. What are the important words? Suspected cadres among 11 militants held in Manipur. Police clear roadblocks, seize arms. Now for our students, all these are very easy. We have got many a time. What is the first one over here? Suspect. But as a smart learner, suspect, doubt, what is the important word you have to recollect? Skepticism, skeptic. Skeptic is different, cynic is different. Skeptic means a person who doubts. Cynical personality means sick personality, someone who is always negative. We also use the word pessimistic. That is the first one you have to recollect. Cadre goes with police, parties, party cadre we say, police also, army, soldiers, and militants, those who want something, they have their own demands, they use weapons, then we use the word militants. Held in Manipur, hold, held, and roadblocks, block, bottleneck, hindrances, impediments, hurdles, all these you have to recollect. Seize arms. Seize means what? To get something using force, seize. Seize the arms. Deaden, you have to use the word cul-de-sac. Very good. That's all from the front page of today's Hindu paper. Let us go to the editorial. Today I'm going to present this way. Hope you'll be able to make out. No distortion, everything is crystal clear. What is this editorial about? India must push back against the US and safeguard its interests. It is about recently our Prime Minister has visited the US and had bilateral talks. That is a backdrop. Based on that, editorial tells what India has to do, what India should not do, all these dimensions. And any meeting between the top leaders of a country, the presidents or the prime ministers, they talk, they get into bilateral talks, they focus on trade, they focus on the diaspora in this context, very important. They focus on the defense. These are the areas, and they may focus on international issues like war somewhere or political disturbance somewhere. There's a broad framework. Based on that, what does the editorial say? India must push back against the US. Push back means certain things India should not accept. Push back against the US and safeguard its interests. Certain things India should not accept because India has to safeguard its own interests. Keeping that in mind, certain things India has to say no. But there's one important helping verb. What is it? Must. India must. That's why I said this is about the stand taken by the editorial. What is the use or what is the function of must? It is used to express an obligation imposed by the speaker or the writer. In this context, the writer, that is the editorial. Editorial stand, very clear. How does it start? Prime Minister Narendra Modi's visit to Washington, D.C., last week was brief but packed with headline generating developments. The visit, that is a verb. But what is the subject here? No, here it is a noun to Washington last week was brief. This is a verb. Here, visit can be a noun, can be a verb. But in this sentence, it is a noun, not a verb. The verb is here. Prime Minister Narendra Modi's visit to Washington last week was brief. Generally, what happens in the exam, they may give a sentence like this. The subject is lengthy. There's a noun phrase and the verb is somewhere else. You got to read very carefully. Was brief but packed with, an important expression. What is the meaning of packed with? We also say full of. Headline generating developments means something sensational, something important. Then only then they hit the headlines. What are those? When you read, you understand. The visit came less than a month after US President Donald Trump was sworn in. Which tense is that? Was brief, was sworn in. Both past. Was brief, past. Was sworn in, past. A month after US President Donald Trump was sworn in, making Mr. Modi the fourth world leader to hold bilateral meetings with him, following the leaders of Israel, Japan, and Jordan, all close US allies. It talks about the US President Donald Trump. He became the US President, and after that, four leaders visited, the fourth one, Indian Prime Minister. And before him, the three leaders from what are the countries? Israel, Japan, and Jordan. And all these are close allies. Allies means what? They have an understanding, and they have the common platform. Then we say they associate with one another or each other. Then we use the word ally, allies, close allies. All these countries. It talks about when our Prime Minister visited, after how much time, and before that, who else visited the US President. The joint statement, generally when the Prime Minister goes to some other country or attends a particular summit or a conference, they release a public statement, press statement. That is also known as a communique. What is the meaning of the word communique? A press release, a press statement. The joint statement issued afterwards outlined a range of substantive discussions. After the meeting, they must have released a press statement, and that included substantive. There's one important word. I usually tell students use the word substantial. What is the meaning of substantial? Considerable. When you read the Hindu paper every day for 6 months, you can expect substantial improvement when it comes to proficiency in English. Considerable. Outlined a range of substantive discussions. While many announcements focused on India's purchases of American goods and investments in the US, Most of these things touched. What are the dimensions that were touched? This sentence talks about that. While many announcements focused on India's purchases of American goods, one thing, and investments in the US, another thing, they managed to avoid some of the tough measures many had anticipated. When our Prime Minister went there, many expected or anticipated the Prime Minister would touch two things. One, they expected the Prime Minister would touch the deportation issue. Second, the tariffs. But cleverly, they avoided these two. The sentence says the same thing. They managed to avoid some of the tough measures many had anticipated. Had anticipated past perfect. When there are two actions that happened in the past, one after the other, first one we use past perfect, second one we use past tense. You have to recollect that. Both sides launched a Mission 500. And usually whenever you come across bilateral ties, they may come up with some initiatives, they may launch some projects. And this editorial talks about one or two projects they had announced. Both sides launched Mission 500, 500 US billion in bilateral trade by 2030, one thing, and initiated discussions on a free trade agreement with phase one of the draft expected this year. One thing, a target, 500 US billion, that is one thing, related to trade, and also initiated discussions on a free trade agreement. But this will take time, with phase one of the draft expected this year. Mr. Trump announced an increase in Indian purchases of US energy, oil, and defense equipment. Moves expected to help balance the 45.7 US billion US trade deficit within the total 130 billion goods trade. It talks about the trade dimension, what is the deficit, to fill the deficit, what they have to do, what India has to do, what the US has to do, and what is the target again, 130 billion goods trade. The deficit will be covered because an increase in Indian purchases of US energy, oil, and defense equipment. Moves expected to help balance the 45.7 US billion US trade deficit within total 130 billion goods trade. Additionally, there was agreement on a new umbrella framework. New umbrella framework, you have to remember this phrase. Compact, there's an acronym. What is the acronym here? Compact. Now you should ask me, sir, what is the difference between an abbreviation and an acronym? When you take the first letters of different words, you pronounce every letter, that is called abbreviation. For example, BBC, British Broadcasting Corporation. What is an acronym? You take the first letters of different words, you form a word, that is called an acronym. For example, NATO, we don't say, we say NATO. That is an acronym. And scuba, self-contained underwater breathing apparatus, scuba diving, that is an acronym. Yes, compact. What is this compact? Or catalyzing opportunities for military partnership, accelerated commerce and technology for the 21st century to streamline cooperation across key sectors. There's one important word. It talks about a particular program, particular thing. What is that? Compact. What do the letters stand for? What does it stand for? Catalyzing, here let us see. Catalyzing opportunities for military partnership, accelerated commerce and technology. When you take all these, you get compact. For the 21st century. But there's one important word, streamline cooperation. Tell me, what is the meaning of streamline cooperation across key sectors? I always tell students, you're preparing for competitive exams, you put in a lot of efforts. You should streamline your efforts. What does it mean? Organize. Streamline means organize. Very good, Madhavi. That is the exact word you have to. You cannot learn in a haphazard manner. You cannot learn at random. Whatever you learn, you have to learn in a proper way, systematic way. And whatever efforts you put in, you have to streamline your efforts. Very important. Here, streamline cooperation across key sectors. They also rebranded the Biden era initiative on critical and emerging technologies, ICET, and have changed that to transforming the relationship utilizing strategic technology, trust. Another acronym. One is compact, another one is a trust. You may get in the exam, they may give these words, ask you what do they stand for. Here we have trust, transforming the relationship utilizing strategic technology, defense technology, you can say, focusing on semiconductors, quantum computing, and AI, with a commitment to developing an AI infrastructure roadmap this year. We have infrastructure roadmap this year. There are two words you have to focus on. Infrastructure, traditional infrastructure, what comes under infrastructure? Roads, transport, building or housing, power, water. Now education also comes under infrastructure, obviously technology. A roadmap means a plan. You should also recollect a blueprint. Who is that? Anant, very good. Both the words mean the same, a strategy, a plan regarding your goal. This year, why is it important? It is incomplete. Whenever we come across adverbs of time that express an incomplete time period, we should use present perfect tense. That you have to recollect. A significant moment came when Mr. Trump announced his approval of the extradition of Tahawur Rana, involved in 26/11 attacks, to India for trial. This is something important. Significant means what? Important. Significant moment came when Mr. Trump announced his approval, means what? His giving the green signal, or giving the approval means giving his nodding his head, or agreeing for something. Approval of extradition. What is the meaning of the word extradition? Imagine someone commits a crime to in a particular country, goes to some other country. First, we call that person fugitive. Fugitive means a person who commits crime in one country goes to another country. And from that country, we have to get him back here. And that is known as extradition. This person has been in the US, and Mr. Trump has agreed to send him back, and that is known as extradition. For trial, we have got many a time. You have to recollect all the related words. Repatriation is different. Extradition is different. What is the difference? Repatriation goes more with refugees, illegal immigrants, and extradition goes more with criminals. Subtle difference between the two. Once the dust settles, an important expression you have to know. Once the dust settles on Mr. Trump's unconventional remarks and Mr. Modi's rare engagement with the media in this format, India must assess the broader takeaways from this visit. Once the dust settles means that initial euphoria, excitement that comes down, settles down. That's what it means. On Mr. Trump's unconventional remarks and Mr. Modi's rare engagement with the media in this format, India must assess the broader takeaways from this visit. Again, a personal obligation imposed by the writer or the editorial. Focus on broader takeaways from this visit. What are those? The positive optics and their camaraderie, an important word. Two words are here. Both the words are very important. They're given in competitive exams. Optics, generally it goes with light, one meaning. But optics, another meaning. The perception of the public based on what the media presents, and the political impact of that on politics. That is known as optics. The media projects a particular image. People believe that image, and based on what the media says, and the impact of that. For that we use the word optics. Camaraderie, an important word, means a friendship with your people at your workplace you work with. You have a friendly relationship. We use this word. Both the words are very important. The positive optics and the camaraderie signal a strong foundation for India-US relations over the next 4 years. There is also clear continuity in key areas of strategic partnership, including Indo-Pacific engagement and the Quad, with Mr. Trump's planned visit to Delhi for the Quad summit later this year expected to reinforce these commitments. It talks about other areas, defense related, and geopolitical areas, important areas, and their commitments. And it is going to help in the long run a healthy relationship next 4 years and continuity in key areas. These are the areas. However, economic discussions, trade, energy, nuclear cooperation, and defense are likely to dominate the India-US agenda. Between the two countries, the agenda, certain areas are very important. What are the important areas? Economic discussions, one, trade, energy, nuclear cooperation, and defense are likely to dominate the India-US agenda, giving the relationship a transactional turn reminiscent of Mr. Trump's first tenure. We have two words here, reminiscent. Tell me what is the meaning of the word reminiscent? Relationship, a transactional turn reminiscent of Mr. Trump's first tenure. Reminiscent means to remind someone of something. You remember something in the past, think of something in the past, it may remind you. That is the exact word you have to recollect. Tenure means the time period. The US president, how long is a tenure? 4 years. The time period one can serve. It resembles his first term, it seems. There is not much evidence that Mr. Modi's visit significantly softened Mr. Trump's stance on imposing counter tariffs and reciprocal taxes or influenced a more humane approach to the deportation of undocumented immigrants aboard military flights. We have seen the pics, you can understand what it means. But here, one of the sentences says, people expected two things. One, some change related to tariffs. Second, a better approach to deal with illegal immigrants, but nothing much happened over there. The sentence says, there is not much evidence that Mr. Modi's visit significantly softened Mr. Trump's stance, means Mr. Trump's stand regarding what? On imposing counter tariffs and reciprocal taxes, or influenced a more humane approach. Humane means what? Kind. To the deportation of undocumented immigrants aboard military flights, that to shackle. Nothing regarding that. People expected, but the editorial opines nothing much happened regarding that. These could present challenges for the Indian government going forward. Because those things haven't been touched, they may become possibility, challenges or problems for the Indian government to move forward. As India engages with the new US administration, it must carefully assess its own interests. The main idea is being reiterated. As India engages with the new US administration, it must carefully assess its own interests, assert its position. Assert its position. An important expression. What is the meaning of the word assert? Be assertive. Youngsters, when you take up the job at the workplace, you have to be assertive. Means what? You have to be firm. India must carefully assess its own interests, assert its position where necessary, and push back when required to safeguard its strategic and economic priorities. In one sentence, the editorial reiterates the stand taken by the editorial, what India has to do. Based on that, 2 or 3 things. One, it must carefully assess its own interests, first thing. Assert its position where necessary, be firm whenever it is required, and push back when required to safeguard its strategic and economic priorities. To safeguard the strategic and economic priorities, India has to push back, has to say no to the US, and should be firm, assertive. It ends on that note. That's all for today. But today, not the regular pattern. I use the newspaper, but I'm sure you guys have got enriched, an easy editorial. Many words are familiar, except 1 or 2. We have got so many times all these words. But focus on the patterns. If there's something to learn, try to learn. Have a nice day. Thank you very much. And from tomorrow, the regular format. Nothing to worry about that. Thank you.